The manhunt is over for Eric Frein, the man accused of killing a Pennsylvania state trooper and injuring another. We're live in Hawley, Pennsylvania, where state police have the latest on Frein's capture. Good evening, I'm Jillian Marshall. Suspected trooper killer Eric Frein is now in police custody in Pennsylvania. He's been the state's most wanted man since allegedly shooting 2 troopers earlier this month. Last month, one of them has died. Our Alicia Nieves is at the press conference in Hawley. She joins us now live with more.
Jillian, Pennsylvania State Police are preparing a news conference in just a few moments to officially announce that the 40-day manhunt is over. Now, Eric Frein has been caught America's most wanted federal fugitive. He was caught earlier today at about 6:30, but just before 6:30. Now, police officials are telling us, or sources are telling us, that U.S. Air Marshals caught up with the 31-year-old Eric Frein at an airplane hangar in the Poconos hours ago. Frein is accused of killing Corporal Brian Dixon and critically wounding Trooper Alex Douglas outside their barracks during a late-night shift change. Up to 1,000 troopers have been searching for him since the incident on September 12th. Right now, PSP is working with the courts of Pike County to facilitate Eric Frein's arraignment. Now, the press conference will take place any minute now, and we will give you updates as soon as information is released. Live in Pike County, Alicia Nieves, WBNG-TV, Action News.
Thanks, Alicia. It took law enforcement nearly 7 weeks to capture Frein, who is known as a survivalist, killed marksman, and hunter. Police said they linked Frein to the ambush after a man walking his dog discovered his partially submerged SUV in a swamp a few miles away from the barracks 3 days after the shooting. Investigators found shell casings matching those found at the barracks, as well as Frein's driver's license and 2 empty rifle cases and military gear. During the weeks of searching, police said they believe Frein left handmade pipe bombs, and at one point, Frein left a handwritten journal at one of his campsites detailing the ambush. State police read parts of that to the public.
I took a follow-up shot on his head, neck area. He was still and quiet after that.
Law enforcement had difficulty locating Frein in the rugged terrain in the Poconos, where Frein was believed to be hiding. Officers counted on the public's help and pursued many leads, one of them in Delaware County. A black 2012 Porsche was found on Lee Hollow Road in Bovina last week. The Porsche was reported stolen from the Pocono Mountains area, where Frein was believed to be hiding. Upon further investigation, Pennsylvania State Police said the missing car was not connected to Frein. A guilty verdict in the murder trial of Christopher Davis. A Broome County jury convicted the Johnson City man of killing his downstairs neighbor Patricia LaCaprara in July 2013. Our Julianne Pixoto was in the courtroom for the verdict and shares reaction from the victim's family and friends.
I just want to know why. Yep, that's all I want to know.
The question still remains. Why did Christopher Davis kill Patricia LaCaprara on July 8th, 2013?
She just was a great person. And she didn't deserve what happened to her, and she certainly didn't deserve the brutal way in which she died.
After nearly 6 hours of deliberation, the jury found Davis guilty of murder in the first and second degree and guilty of first-degree robbery.
There was a lot of information. There was over 30 witnesses, 200 exhibits. You'd expect that they're going to take time, and it wasn't an extraordinarily long time. So it could have been a week, and it would not have surprised or bothered me. They're going to take what time they need to do their job.
After a trial of nearly 2 weeks, prosecution says the jury got it right.
I think it was the right verdict, a just verdict. It's always difficult for a jury to take on that responsibility. We respect them, and our reaction is thank goodness.
I want to say my sister says I'm happy, but I'm not happy. I'm just relieved for Patty's sake.
Defense attorney Christopher Grace declined to comment, but says he plans to appeal. But for now, LaCaprara's loved ones are happy for closure.
I hope she can rest now, too. She was a good lady. Very good.
We can only pray now that the sentence matches the guilty verdict. That's our next prayer, so that's what we're hoping for, is that he spends the rest of his life in prison.
In Binghamton, Julianne Pixoto, WBNG-TV, Action News.
Davis's sentencing is scheduled for January 2nd, 2015. And now we're going to go live to a press conference with Pennsylvania State Police in Hawley, Pennsylvania. They're talking more about Frein's capture earlier tonight.
The day of the shooting, the day after the shooting, he was placed under arrest and handcuffed with the handcuffs of Corporal Dixon, which I think is very appropriate. What's also should be noted, that while everybody was out there, nobody else got shot after that day. Trooper Douglas is doing much better. Our prayers are with him. Our prayers are with Mrs. Dixon and her 2 sons, and with Trooper Douglas's family. I can't tell you how much, on behalf of a grateful state, we want to thank all the partners who have been involved in this mission to capture this individual, and how much you have given your heart and your soul in the name of justice. I want to commend the great work of the Commissioner of the State Police, Frank Noonan, who has been in contact with me sometimes hourly as to the progress of this manhunt. Lieutenant Colonel George Bivens, as you know, has been up here leading many of the conversations from the podiums, but together with the entire team, they have been working extremely hard. Many long hours, days, and now weeks. The Pike County District Attorney, Raymond Tonkin, who's here with us, who now takes over in this prosecution, which is now going to be a prosecution. And all the federal and local law enforcement officers who have been involved in this also, and I know that the commissioner is going to name all of those. And additionally, law enforcement agencies from around the country that participated, that volunteered to participate in this. But I particularly want to thank the residents of northeastern Pennsylvania, particularly the Pike and Monroe County areas, whose patience, whose tolerance, and whose perseverance have been a tremendous support and lift to all of the law enforcement personnel that have been working out there day and night on this mission. You demonstrate the very best of Pennsylvania. Just today, when I was in the western part of the state, I ran into a couple from here in Pike County who were on their way to Western County, and they talked about nothing more than what was happening here in their support for all of law enforcement and what they were doing during this period of time. The support of the community has been instrumental to all of law enforcement. And then finally, I want to stop here and turn it over to the Colonel, to the Commissioner, but again, to the family of Trooper Dixon, to the family of Trooper Douglas, and to Trooper Douglas. Let me assure you, from everybody here, justice will be served. Colonel?
Thank you all for coming. This is a great day for the Pennsylvania State Police and for all Pennsylvanians. And it's only appropriate that I bring up Lieutenant Colonel Bivens with me, who has been leading this entire operation and has just done a fantastic job. You see many people behind me from various law enforcement agencies, the FBI, the ATF, the United States Marshals, and the Border Patrol was here. We have the Barrett Township Police Chief with us, many municipal police officers, Scranton Police Department, too many to count. The state agencies from surrounding states, New York, New Jersey, Virginia, Ohio, Connecticut, all of them have sent help and been part of this. It has truly been a team effort and a pleasure to work with so many great, dedicated people. And the one thing I'd just like to point out, because there were so many, several thousand people that took part in this manhunt, the reason this was so important is because Eric Frein was dedicated to killing law enforcement members. He had at least one sniper rifle that we knew of. We knew he had a handgun. We knew at the beginning that he had explosive charges with him. I can't think of a more dangerous occupation than going into the woods after this individual. And yet, my biggest problem was telling people I don't need any more help. That's truly significant. Now, let me tell you how this arrest took place. About at 6 p.m. this evening, at the Birchwood Pocono Air Park in Pocono Township in Monroe County, we've been broken down into many, many teams, a lot of them SWAT teams, and been assigned areas in the woods at various locations to sweep and to search, and we've been doing it for over 40 days. It's a hot, tiring, dangerous job. Today, the United States Marshal Service had one of their teams out at the abandoned airport. When they approached it, they saw an individual that they thought was Eric Frein, and they ordered him to surrender, to get down on his knees and raise his hands, which is what he did. Once they approached him, he admitted his identity, and he was taken into custody. He was turned over to the Pennsylvania State Police. As the governor said, Corporal Dixon's handcuffs were placed on him, and he was put in Corporal Dixon's car and transported back and is currently in custody. There are other search warrants that we're trying to serve right now on some areas that we believe he may have been staying at. And the thing that I want to emphasize, the reason this took so long is it's such a big wooded area that he was totally familiar with, that he had a lot of places to hide in. And we had to be very careful in how we searched it. We would plot out different areas. We have a lot of cameras in there, but it was the marshals going out there today, and we had a lot of other people out there searching other areas that came upon him, and that's why he's in custody today. I know that there's been a real trial for many of the community and for all of my people and the people that are standing behind me and the people that have helped us. But let me explain to you. Eric Frein had a mission, and that was to attack law enforcement. If he got out of those woods, we were very concerned that he would then kill other law enforcement, and if not them, civilians. That's why we had to keep the pressure on him. Now, when the governor talked about calling me, I'm not saying he was a pest, but I will say he would call me 4 or 5 times every day. And he always ended with the same question: what else do you need? How do we get this done? Is there anything else I can do? And that's been great. And I can tell you, too, that all of the federal agencies, I've talked to the heads of all of them that have been participating with us, they all said the same thing. What can we do to help? We're in this for the long haul. We're in this with you. And that really made a tremendous difference, I believe, in this case. We weren't going to stop until this fugitive was arrested. And I'm glad that it ended without any other loss of life, including his. This way the people will know exactly how our justice system works, and I know that you're going to follow it, and I hope that it brings some closure to the families that have been so seriously affected. I know many of you were at the funeral of Corporal Dixon, and I've had an opportunity to talk to his wife, Tiffany, and to Trooper Douglas, and assure them that we would not stop until he was apprehended. And it makes me very proud to say that today he's apprehended. Let me introduce, well, there's so many people here. The fellow in the really nice suit is the United States Marshal, Marty Payne, a very good friend of mine. But the first one to speak will be ASAC Janelle Miller. If you will come forward.
Good evening. My name is Janelle Miller, Assistant Special Agent in charge of the FBI Philadelphia Division. And on behalf of the men and women of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, I would like to thank the Pennsylvania State Police and all our partners for their efforts and professionalism in this trying time in eastern Pennsylvania. Tonight, the public can sleep soundly knowing that this dangerous FBI Top 10 fugitive has been apprehended. And I want to thank this community for your help as the search was conducted, and also thank the media for spreading the subject's photograph far and wide in the interest of public safety. While we find comfort in knowing a dangerous threat to the community is in custody, we will never forget Corporal Brian Dixon, who will forever remain in our memories. And our thoughts and prayers remain with Trooper Douglas. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to bring up the SAC of the ATF, who's been with me throughout this entire ordeal, Sam Rabati.
Commissioner. My name is Sam Rabati. I'm the Special Agent in charge for ATF out of our Philadelphia division. As you've heard several times before through a variety of press conferences, we said we would not stop until Frein was brought to justice and held to answer for his alleged heinous crimes. Tonight we have a sense of closure, especially for the families of Trooper Dixon and Douglas, but also for the community itself. An alleged cop killer has been taken into custody and placed in handcuffs. This individual is no longer a threat to this community and is now behind bars. He has been stripped of his guns, his bombs, and now his freedom. And as he sits in a cell inside the same state police barracks where it began 7 weeks ago, these senseless shooters where they were committed. He can no longer hide behind his rifle. He can no longer hide in the woods, and he is no longer on the run. And now he will have to answer for his violent actions. Thank you.
Thanks, Sam. As the governor mentioned, during the
And as a recap, U.S. Marshals found Frein in an abandoned air park in the Poconos around 6 o'clock tonight. U.S. Marshals ordered Frein to surrender. He was then turned over to Pennsylvania State Police, which he was then transported to Blooming Grove in Corporal Brian Dixon's handcuffs and car. We'll go back to Alicia live later in the broadcast. She'll have more on the press conference. For now, we'll be right back after this break.